Muhammad tried repeatedly to kill himself. You Muslims out there who believe in Muhammad, you are believing in a man who tried repeatedly to commit suicide. According to the Muslim sources, he tried to commit suicide after receiving these revelations because he didn't want his tribe to be able to say that he was possessed by a jinn. And according to Sahih al-Bukhari, your most trusted, reliable source on the life of Muhammad, he tried again to kill himself later on when revelation stopped.
That's right.
So let me go ahead and read 2 passages, and then we'll continue moving. So I'll go ahead and finish the passage that I read in point number 10. He says, "Now none of God's creatures was more hateful to me than an ecstatic poet or a man possessed. I could not even look at them. I thought, woe is me, poet or possessed. Never shall Quraysh say this of me. I will go to the top of the mountain and throw myself down that I may kill myself and gain rest." He wanted rest from whatever this was that was tormenting him, right? Because whatever it is, it's pressing on him until he thinks he's going to die. And he just wants rest from this, and wants rest from the idea that he's being possessed, and from the idea of his people ridiculing him. But this tells us something about Muhammad. When at the first sign of trouble, you want to go hurl yourself off a cliff in order to avoid embarrassment.
To show a contrast with the true prophets of God, it's vitally important to let the audience know that any time a true prophet or a righteous person has an encounter with God or an angel or even the Holy Spirit of God, their initial response is fear, but it's that entity, whether God himself or the angel or the Holy Spirit, that comforts the person and says, do not be afraid, taking away their fears in order to have this encounter with God. So you see the difference there, David? Here, instead of the Spirit comforting Muhammad, the Spirit traumatizes Muhammad to the extent that Muhammad wants to commit suicide. It takes individuals who are not there, who are not privy to this encounter, to encourage him. He's not demon-possessed, whereas the true prophets of God or the servants of God, they're encouraged by the entity in question. Like when Gabriel appears to Mary, Gabriel tells Mary, do not be afraid. Or when he appears to Zechariah, the father of John the Baptist, he tells him, do not be afraid. So you see the difference between what this Spirit did to Muhammad and God's true Spirit messengers do when they're sent to reveal God's revelations to God's true servants.
It's almost as if these are totally different Gabriels we're dealing with here.
Definitely.
Right? All right, let me read one more passage about Muhammad's suicide attempts, because after he starts receiving the revelations, he eventually stops receiving the revelations. And watch his reaction. This is Sahih al-Bukhari, number 6982. It says, "But after a few days, Waraqa died, and the divine revelation was also paused for a while, and the prophet became so sad, as we have heard, that he intended several times to throw himself from the tops of high mountains. And every time he went up to the top of a mountain in order to throw himself down, Jibril would appear before him and say, 'O Muhammad, you are indeed Allah's messenger in truth,' whereupon his heart would become quiet, and he would calm down and would return home." Now, think about this, Sam. Every time something happens that he doesn't like, he goes up to throw himself off a cliff. This is the guy that Muslims are trusting with their salvation, to guide them to the path of salvation. A guy who says, "Oh, something's going bad today. Let me go hurl myself off a cliff." This is some wild, wild stuff.